In this video, we're going to be looking at placing columns and beams. So this project has a very weird sort of set of grid lines, but we're just going to work with it. So let's start with columns. So to place structural columns, you'd want to go to either structure and click on column, or go to the architecture tab. Now, if you were to click on column here, you see structural column. For architectural columns, you would expand here and click on this. Essentially, this is something like the steel or concrete columns, and this is more sort of the surrounding of those steel columns, as you can see there in the example. So let's start with some structural columns, maybe just one. When placing them, you want to make sure that you're setting up whether it's depth or height. So remember, depth, just like foundation walls, measures down. So right now my base level is level 1 based on the plan that I'm in. Therefore, a depth of 9 feet means this column is going to go down into the ground 9 feet. If I press this as height, it's going to be 9 feet going up. You can actually see it right there. And if I press depth, you can still see it, but it would be going down. So I'm going to go ahead and put it as height. Now I can either put it in here this way, or I can say place at grids. Notice there's some additional features in here that if you're a structural engineer and you're working from an architectural model, let's say they've placed their architectural columns, you can actually say, hey, place some steel at their columns, which can come in handy to speed up and make sure that things are coordinated. Then you can also say add grids. So if I say add grids, I'm going to go ahead and select these two. You can see it is automatically placing a column there. If you just hit finish, that column will be placed. Now, if I wanted to see that, a couple of things I can do. Let's go ahead and temporarily hide things by category. Turn off my walls. And there it is. Now it's not really attached, so one thing I could say is attach top and attach it to this. Now it's attached to an unstructural target. So if you want to resolve that, just make sure that your floor is marked as structural if it is. If it's not, then don't mark it as structural. Now let's look at the beams. So this view is sort of already set up. I'm going to reset it. So something that's really useful inside of Revit, it's just right here, these glasses. All right, this is your temporary hide and isolate. So it's nice because you don't have to go into visibility graphics, turn off your walls, and now I have to remember to turn them back on afterwards. I have to go do that. Walls, turn it back on. So one thing I can do is I can select a wall, click on the glasses, and say hide category. You can see this border on my view now that says temporary hide isolate. I can quickly reset that by typing in HR, which resets the view. And then there are some shortcuts like hide category, HC, and some of these are custom shortcuts that I've put in here. So let's say I wanted to put some beams in here. I'm going to go ahead and go to the structural tab, click on beam, and that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and place them on this level here. So there's a couple of things you can do if you are doing angled bracing or something like that. You can use 3D snapping to help you do that. If you're just placing them in plan, it's easy enough to just make sure that you have your placement level set up correctly. So let's say this is going to be at L2. Structural usage, you can either tell it or just leave it as automatic. And you can also set up a chain so that you can continuously keep clicking to place the beams. I'm going to go ahead and say pick lines or pick edges. And as you can see here, I can quickly place some beams like this. Another option that's really useful is if you go over to the structural tab and select beam system or BS. So what I'm going to do here is I want to place beams for this sort of overhang and walkout sort of patio area. So I'm going to pick edges, just simply use my floor as the beam system outline. Now, very important here, you can set your beam direction differently from here. So right now this is dictating my beam direction. Now let's say I wanted it to start here. I can say, okay, now use outline. Or if I wanted it to head in the other direction, I can say, no, beams run this way. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this line right here. Now, before I hit done, I want to make sure that my beam system's set up. So as you can see here, I can set up the layout rule, fixed distance, fixed number, maximum spacing or clear spacing. I'm going to say a fixed distance or fixed spacing. Maybe I'll say something like 3 feet instead, based on the center. And let's use the W shapes, W8 by 10. And then let's hit done on this. So as easy as that, you have some beams in place. Now, if I were to select the beam system, I can say, okay, go down something like 3 inches, and then they'll be in here, maybe accounting from some sort of metal deck or something else, depending on what the floor structure here is. One other thing I can do if I reset this back is, let's say that I needed this to actually be at the edge. Let's orient my view here. Actually, that doesn't work. Front. There we go. So I can't move this to the left. You can see it says can't move pinned elements. So you want to make sure that you just unpin it. Now this is a little different and it works similar to curtain walls. When you unpin something, it means it's becoming independent from the system rules, meaning the beam system. So beam system is set to be 3 feet apart. By unpinning it, it allows me to just move this over as I need it. It breaks up the spacing. You can see the beam system here, and then my rogue or independent beam. Now, if you repin it, it goes right back. So that's been columns and beams. For more advanced videos, feel free to leave your questions in the comments. Maybe we'll make a video about it. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Got any questions? Head over to bimdad.com and let us know. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. See you in the next one.